right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the build process. This is part 7. We've got our house framed up. We've got it insulated. We're ready to put some finished stuff in this house, right? But before we do that, we have to sheetrock it. So let's go check that out. All right, guys, let's go watch them hang some sheetrock. You know, we can start right here in the garage, why don't we? We got our insulation up. We're ready to go. We got to cover all that stuff up so we can get on to the finished stuff in the house, like painting and all that. But this is your sheetrock. This is what the covering of your wall is. When you put a screw in, this is what you're going through. You can see it's a 1/2-inch sheetrock. All right, pretty cool. And they got screws. They're using screws in them, and they're sinking the screws down a little bit. So when they put the mud over this, when they put the mud, I'll just call it mud because that's what it is, the sheetrock mud, all that gets covered up. All the seams will get covered up. You see they're cutting pieces. He's up on his stilts there. Watch that. Watch that. They'll put some screws in now. Measuring, cutting, ripping. We'll stay out of his way. We don't want to be in his way. We'll go watch him hang. Okay, so he's going to take that piece. He's going to be working with that gentleman over there and getting that up. Pretty cool. Look at that. Tags it so it stays in place. So they're always working ahead of each other. Then we're going to cut this piece out of our doorway. Let's go inside. Pretty good. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us today. I have to talk a little louder because they got good music playing in here, and YouTube loves to give us hits. But you can see it. It's just all they're doing is cutting pieces to fit the holes, right? That's all they're doing. Pretty simple. There's your big stack of sheetrock. We've seen this before. All right, this is our tray ceiling that we'll have in there, right? And he's up there on his stilts, which is, that takes a little bit of, that's an art right there. That's an art. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let's go over here. We'll show you some more things. Get away from that music. Oh, here's the, this is right here. This is going to be for your shower and your wet spaces, okay? That's a water-resistant sheetrock. You notice over here in the master, we're in the master shower. You'll see you got the standard sheetrock down to a certain point, and then they'll use that moisture-resistant sheetrock. Some people nickname concrete board, and there's a couple different names for it, but that'll surround all of your wet areas, all your shower on the inside, all of that'll have that board before they tile over the top of it. So it keeps, because this regular sheetrock will not withstand moisture, right? It just gets all nasty and gummy and it just ends up falling apart. That would eventually do as well, but again, it takes so much more. It's insane. It'll never happen. So even if it gets some moisture on it, that's why they use that product, okay? So you can see that's what it's doing. So we're going to go find a house that actually has the sheetrock all the way up, already up, and then we'll show you kind of what the mudding process looks like and what they do with that, okay? So follow me to the next one. All right, gang, in between hanging the sheetrock and finishing the sheetrock, we have to mud the sheetrock. And we're using all-purpose joint compound for that. It's kind of a real thin, muddy sort of thing. It's white in color, as you can see, or it actually goes on as off-white. But remember the joints we saw, all the screw heads, where all the screw holes are. They use that joint compound to seal up the joints, fill in the gaps, okay? That, along with joint tape. Let's see if I can find some of that out here. I think there was a couple of rolls of that over here. So this is joint tape. Let me show you guys what they do with that. Is they'll take this tape and they run it all along the joint with this mud, and they cover it all up, and then do a couple of coats of the mud, and they sand it in between coats to get a nice smooth, finish, so we can come back and finish it, okay? So look at that, pretty dang nice. They'll do that anywhere sheetrock pieces come together, anywhere there's a line of screws, okay? And of course, all this is rough because all your door trim and all is going to go on that window trim, things of that nature. But also what they use when they do corner is they use what they call a corner bead. Let's see if I can show you guys. This is actually a piece of metal that goes around all the corners, and all that'll be painted over and all. But that's what they call a corner bead. It's about a 1/2 inch on either side piece of trim that goes on there, if you will. Okay, it's a pretty good on the island here. You can kind of see it right there. All right. So all of your outside corners get that for strength. All right, gang, we got the sheetrock hung, and now it's time to mud up the joints and the screw heads and all that sort of thing. So we know we use mud and we use tape, and you can see it here. This is just the first coat where they put mud in the seam, they lay down some tape, and then they put some mud over the top of it. And this is just the first coat to get the tape to stay there and be sealed to the seam and this and that, cover it up. Then you'll see that they've mudded screw heads as well. Okay, and you can see the screw right there. And they'll do these coats a couple times. They'll sand in between the coats once they dry. They've got, of course, more to do. They got to do all those joints, so they're still working here. So there'll be probably 2 coats. This is the first coat. They'll sand it all, let it dry, sand it all down, and then put a second coat on. And the second coat of mud will be wider. They feather it out, so it makes a nice smooth finish on your wall. So let's go inside and see that portion of it as well. There'll be corner bead, and let's see what we got going on here. Here we go. This is a great example. There's some fresh stuff up on the ceiling there, right? With the seam tape. This gentleman in the bedroom working on it now, so we're gonna go see what he's doing. You got the first where the mud will set down in the hole with the screw, and then again, they'll come back, put a second coat on that. And you see he's in here now. See what he's doing right there? Perfect. Look. He's pushing the screw down as he needs to dent it in there a little bit. Look at that. So you'll end up with the first coat. All right. So this is the mudding work. So let's go on and see kind of a finished product and get on over to a house where they're already shooting coating on the ceiling and all. All right, we've got the sheetrock on the walls. We got it all mudded. We got it all sanded. Now it's time to put the texture, the knockdown on the ceiling and the orange peel on the walls. So let's take a peek and see what the next steps are. All right, gang, we've got the house sheetrocked. All right, and you can see all the tape marks, see all the mud work and everything. All the joints have been covered up, all the screws, all that stuff. They've mudded all the joints. They sanded everything. Looks really, really nice in here. And now they're getting ready to shoot the texture on the wall. And that is basically just sheetrock mud. And we're gonna see them do that in a minute. So they've got their hoses laid out. They've got the machine. They're cranking up the machine. And they're getting ready to fill that hopper and pump it into the house. Hope you can hear me over that machine right there. We'll go get a closer look. And they got the hopper. So as soon as they start pumping and start shooting the walls, we'll go in there. All right, we're on the backside where he was, and now he's shooting on over there. Pretty crazy cool. I love this. I love watching this sort of stuff. These guys are artists. Stay out of his way. I don't want to get splattered with sheetrock mud or texture mud. Look at it. You can see it going up on the ceiling right there. Pretty cool. I love it. He's going to come for me in a minute. While they're working out there, let's get in the back bedrooms area here in this particular home. You can see how the mud that he shot up there kind of drips a little bit. It's wet. So if they were to knock it down, to take that giant spatula, which I'll show you in a second, if they were to do that right now, it would just make a big smeary mess and just coat the ceiling. So you got to kind of let it set for a little while. And they'll use these big spatulas right here, I call them. Okay? They're just kind of plastic. They're just plastic. And what they'll do is they'll take it and knock the ceiling down, all right? They'll take it and just kind of wipe it with those spatulas, and it gives it that texture that you see on the ceiling, versus if they did it while it was wet, it would just make a big smeary mess and just kind of recoat the whole ceiling. That's not what you want. All right, gang, now we're coming in here and he's knocking it down. Let me show you what he's doing. He's taking the wet, that's kind of just set just a little bit, and he's giving it that, what I call the flat texture. Let me get out of his way. I'm going to go in the room here in a minute. Here we go. Let me get out of his way. There we go. Perfect. So he's giving it a flat texture. That's what gives you your knockdown. There's 2 ways of doing it. There's single knockdown, and then there's double knockdown. This is single knockdown because they only shoot it 1 time and then knock it down. Double knockdown is where they thicken it up just a little bit. But there's very few builders, I don't think, do that much anymore. Most of them do the single knockdown. So that's pretty cool. Now we know how they do all this. There he goes. He's coming at us now. Look. Sweet. Let me get inside here so you see that one. Look at that. See the difference in it? It was dripping, now it's flat. And that's an art too, because you don't want to stop it at a certain point. You want to be able to pull it off the ceiling, you know, gingerly so it doesn't make drip marks and stuff. So pretty cool. All right, let me get out of his way. Let me get out of your way. Okay. I'm gonna get wet here. I'm gonna get wet in a minute. Very nice. That looks so good. Now that he's done in this room, you can see what it's gonna look like, right? Looks just like what you normally see when you walk into a house. It's a little shiny right now because it's still a little bit wet, but once it's dried, all that'll go away, and then they paint it with ceiling white. All right, gang, now that we got our texture on the ceiling, they're gonna start shooting the texture on the walls. Sadly enough, that won't be till tomorrow, and I won't be able to be here to see that. We have to meet with some clients tomorrow. But anyway, it'll be the same process, and you'll see an orange peel, and we'll look at some of that as we move through the process, and I'll show you that. But it's applied the exact same way, for the most part, the exact same way as the ceiling, okay? All right, gang, hope that helps you understand sheetrock. It's an art, let me tell you. These guys are really good at what they do. And we're starting to get into that finish time of the house, right? Where all the good looking stuff starts going in, your tile, your cabinets, paint, all that sort of stuff. So we're getting ready to get into there, and so we're gonna start looking for homes that are in those kind of processes. So we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.